We have
10
14
to
undefeated
live.
teams left. What
Just 14.
is James Madison's in?
Sunbelt.
Yeah, but aren't they F FCS?
No, they came up with the Big 12 taking a bunch of Conference USA teams or American. American took Conference USA teams. Conference USA took some Sunbelt teams instead of Sunbelt. That's how like App State has been in the Sunbelt for a while because they got bumped up from the FCS. James Madison was FCS, and I think once they beat Virginia Tech, then the Sunbelt was like, all right, you can compete with us.
Not a very high bar, but all right.
I mean,
Not anymore, anyway.
yeah,
It used to be.
that's what I'm saying. And it's the Sunbelt too, so it's not like they got an invite to the ACC. It's like, oh, you're taking Virginia Tech's place.
Oh man.
Yeah, just cough
Yeah.
right into the mic, Rob. Let everybody hear it.
That's just the
And that's
YouTube.
how we do it.
Just the YouTube stream. This isn't the. This is all raw and unedited on here.
Yeah, it is definitely unedited, and I would say unpolished. No, I wouldn't say raw. It's unpolished.
So, all right. Let me know when you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready whenever. We've been live for a little bit now.
And we are live with another episode of SEC Tavern Talk. I'm your host, Rob, joined today by my co-host, Wes Meeborn. What's going on, man?
What's up? Go Blazers, Roll Tide. How's that for a little switcheroo?
That's how you always say it.
No, I usually start with Roll Tide because Bama's the actual SEC team.
Ah, okay.
So I'm gonna go with my alma mater this time. Go Blazers and then Roll Tide.
Oh, man. All right. Are you ready to jump into it?
Man, I've been ready for several days at this point. I mean,
Yeah. I've been waiting on you.
man, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bo. Don't you do it.
Great
No, it was fun.
reference. Great reference. Well, how about that Alabama game?
How about it, man? You know what? It wasn't a pretty win, but I'll take an ugly win over Texas A&M much more than that ugly win over South Florida a few weeks ago. And Texas A&M is a good team. I mean, they're not as bad as they were last year. They're not great, but it's a win. It's on the road, which super helpful, especially after 2 years ago. Jimbo becoming the first former Saban assistant to beat him in a game. It was kind of nice getting that monkey off the back. And especially too, it was good for Milroe because last year Bryce Young was injured and didn't play during this game, and Milroe kind of filled in for him. Well, this time it was Milroe actually being the guy, and he showed out. Still had an interception. Wasn't a huge fan of that, of course, but he threw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, which, I mean, if he has that kind of output week in, week out, I think we'll be okay overall. What really concerns me, honestly, again, with the penalties, for crying out loud, we didn't quite get to 100 yards, but 14 individual penalties. And I think like 9 of them were pre-snap. So you could tell that the crowd noise was definitely getting to everybody. And I think one of the announcers mentioned it, that it wasn't an issue the previous week going to Starkville because by SEC rule, the cowbells have to stop once the teams line up at the line of scrimmage. Well, there were no cowbells to stop, so the crowd noise continued on, and I think that is going to be a problem, um, especially with the road games that are left. But I think even more egregious after 2 weeks of the offensive line finally opening up some holes for the running backs. This past week, 26 rushes and only 23 yards. That is not going to win you any games. That's not going to put the game away in the fourth quarter when you're trying to hold a lead and run the clock out. And I think if that doesn't get fixed, along with Milroe's short and intermediate passing game, I would expect fourth quarters to be more interesting than they should be. This past week included. You want to be able to churn out first downs on the ground. And if you don't have the running game, you want the quarterback to be able to throw those quick, slants. We saw it a lot with Hurts and Tua and Jones when they were taking snaps. Milroe doesn't have that. He doesn't have the short game. He can air it out, but you don't want to air it out when you've got, a touchdown lead in the fourth quarter. So, bottom line though, a win is a win. We'll take it as, it's a division rival, conference rival. It's puts Alabama in sole position at the top of the West, which is where you want to be, especially coming into October. A lot of good games left, a lot of good football left to play, but we'll get to those later on. That's all I got to say. Roll Tide.
All you got to say about that?
That's right.
Well, Georgia decided they wanted to come out and play this week.
Seems so.
I don't know why, but they did. Maybe they decided we were playing a top 20 team all of a sudden. I don't know. They came out and won 51-13. And daggum, to quote one of my friends, Carson Beck looked like the ghost of Stetson Bennett. Like, good grief. The man, aside from one interception, had almost a flawless game. He started 12 for 12.
Yep.
I mean, it's insane. He had 389 yards. We had 435 total in the air, 173 on the ground. Like, to Kentucky's under 200.
Yeah.
It's crazy from a team that a week before had what was it, over 300 on the ground and 280 by one player.
Yep.
Like, and he only had, I think it was 59 rushing yards.
Yeah. Davis was held in check. And I think that was probably the best way that Georgia could have played it, right? Because you want to come out, you want to start fast and take the running game out of it.
Right.
Which starting fast has not been something Georgia's done all season. But to your point, maybe, playing that top 20 team, it's like, all right, we need to wake up. No hitting the snooze button this week.
And I think one thing that's helped Georgia is all the talk and all the doubt and the disrespect that's been put on them. I think that's one thing that woke up Beck the most, because he said the one thing that motivates him the most is disrespect. And looks like maybe the rest of the team too. But of course, it doesn't hurt when you have the best player in the country on your team, Brock Bowers. That man is just, he's unbelievable. A matchup nightmare. I mean, that's his third straight game with over 130 receiving yards.
Yeah.
He's already, like, I looked at him on a list and it said he's currently sitting at fourth in the Heisman race, and that's
with good reason.
Yeah. Like,
correct me if I'm wrong, he's Georgia's reception leader on the season, right?
I believe so now.
As a tight end.
Yeah, the first couple games he wasn't, because he didn't get, for whatever reason, he didn't get much but I think Georgia was going off of the kind of last couple years mentality of we're
Mhm.
going to kind of use everybody, and now they're like, okay, we're going to use whatever we got to use to get the yards, to get the touchdowns, to get the wins. And so, in previous years we didn't have to rely on him as much. Right now we're just throwing to him as much possible just to because nobody can stop him. And so, yeah, I mean, let's see.
Oh yeah, he's got 37 receptions on the year. Number 2, Dominic Lovett, has 22.
Yeah.
So yeah, between this and the Auburn game, that's really where he stepped it up, because he had 7 or 8 catches in the Auburn game too, right?
Yeah. And let's see, on the year, he's got 545 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns, but most of those have come in the last 3 games.
Yeah.
He hardly had anything in the first, I guess the first 3. Really the first 2 he hardly had anything. The third game he had a decent game, or maybe it was somewhere in there. One of the first 3 games, and then the last 3 he just turned it on. And I mean, Georgia hasn't covered all year. They far more than covered this game. Like,
They covered for the season in one game.
I mean, it was 14.5 and they won almost 40 points. So yeah, that's just crazy. But yeah, it was a crazy game. We had, let's see, how many people? I don't even, no point even counting how many people we had get rush attempts in that game, and then total 173 yards. Same thing in the air. We had we had like 15 or more that caught a pass. And Ra Thomas is starting to come out too. I looked to
Yep.
pick him up, and JB's already got him on his team. I was like, dang you. I was like, how do you have him? Like, I know you didn't just pick him up, so you just kept him this whole time.
That's
You
right.
jerk. But moving on across the league, we had Mississippi State beat Western Michigan by 13. That's just sad.
Yeah, I mean, you'll take the win, right?
Yeah.
But this is something that I've wondered about for a while, because there was for the longest time, like when Alabama played LSU with Les Miles and Nick Saban, it was like the next week both teams played more poorly, and it was like that game took so much out of them that it drained into the next week. I wonder if the way Mississippi State lost last week kind of fell into that. It was almost like, all right, well, it's not Alabama, it's Western Michigan. We can, you know, I don't know that to be true. We've talked before about the coaching situation, and how it's probably not as good as it was. Definitely not as good as it has been. Probably not as good as it will be. So this is a transition year in a lot of ways. But I just wonder if there was sort of a little bit of a hangover, right? Big SEC loss at home, and then turn around and have a non-SEC non-conference team and just don't play up to it.
Yeah, that could be. I don't know. I didn't see the game, so it's hard to really say what went on. But other than that, we had Ole Miss narrowly defeating Arkansas. Arkansas hung in there. I definitely thought Ole Miss was going to win by more than that. We had Florida beating Vanderbilt. Who cares? 28-14.
Florida does. Florida cares.
Yeah. And then LSU beats Missouri. Man,
What a game.
I thought Missouri had that. I really did.
Uh-huh. You weren't the
Brady
only
Cook,
one.
Brady Cook, and I really wished I would have. In a lot of ways, I would have picked it, even though I got it right after all. But like Missouri had the early lead, and I can't believe they let LSU come back. Then they had a chance at the end and just threw that pick to give them the seal of the win. But oh man,
Yeah, what killed me watching that game was the the drive that Missouri was down 3 points, it was 42-39. They crossed the 50. It was at one point 3rd and 1. And that led to, I think, a false start, which made it 3rd and 6. And then a sack fumble with the ball bouncing back. They finally recover, turns into 4th and 32 at their own 28. It's like, what in the world just happened? Like, you're in a situation where you've got probably the best kicker in the country. All you need is a first down, 1 yard, just block the crowd out, get the first down, and you're on the right side of the 50. You don't have to go much further to be in his range, right? It's just you get into a position to win the game, and they don't do it. And then they make the boggling decision to go for it on 4th and 32. Of course they don't get it. And you got to wonder what happens if they punt it. There's worse field position for LSU. Missouri doesn't get the ball back with no timeouts from their own 4 and throw a pick 6. It's just like a comedy of errors right there at the end. Questionable decision making, poor execution. It's like, oh, you were so close. But, close only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear weapons, right?
yeah. Well, how about two late, end of game decisions for LSU, back to back weeks? Crazy. Lose one and then win one. Insane. Well, that's all the games we had in the SEC. But I wanted to talk about the kind of landscape of the undefeateds and kind of what the conferences playing out could look like, and then playoff time. So just all the different scenarios and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think obviously after that Kentucky game, Georgia is once again unquestionably the king of the hill, right? 2-time defending national champs. They finally woke up, and oh my word, did they wake up? Right after them in the rankings, you've got Michigan and Ohio State, and that's and Penn State's not too far behind at number 6. So they play the round robin. One of them is going to emerge out of that. Probably not 2, but it's not unheard of, right? They both made the playoff last year. They may go 0-2 in the playoffs again this year. Who knows? And outside of that, I really think it's as wide open as you'd imagine. With was it 11, 12 undefeated teams left?
14, I believe.
14.
It is.
Wow.
So you have Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Penn State, Washington, SC, Oregon, Oklahoma, North Carolina, Louisville, Air Force,
Air Force.
James
Wow.
James Madison, and Liberty.
Liberty, liberty, liberty.
Liberty.
Well, I think those last 3 we can agree are probably not in serious consideration.
Right. And I would argue probably Louisville's not either. But they're undefeated right now, so we'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
They're undefeated. I mean, their best wins against Notre Dame this past week.
Yeah.
And it's not the greatest win, but for a program like Louisville, how they play this next week and the week after that, after a big win. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that was on the road, wasn't it?
I think it was in South Bend.
Yeah. So I
No,
mean,
no. They won at home.
okay. Well, still big night win at home. It's when you're a program on the rise, it's when you have a big marquee win, how you play after that. Can you keep it going?
So remaining this week is irrelevant because they'll win. Then they have Duke, Miami, and Kentucky. Those are the remaining games that matter. Like that, they won't win easily.
Yeah, I think both of those are going to be difficult.
All three of them, you mean?
Well, I'm thinking Duke and Kentucky.
Okay.
Miami, I don't think that's going to be an issue, even though they're going to Miami. I could be wrong. I look at that and I think Duke is right here after Pitt, right? So it's going to be the next week, or I'm sorry, they get a bye week, but they go into Duke.
The thing here though is I think with the ACC right now, if you've got, say Georgia goes and wins the SEC without losing a game,
yep,
and then you got an undefeated Pac-12 champion, you got an undefeated Big Ten champion. I think right there you got three teams already, and then if OU goes and runs the table and goes undefeated, I think there's your teams right there.
probably.
But then, of course, if Florida State runs it, if Louisville loses one game, I don't see how they're done. Like,
oh sure,
and so, but even if they go undefeated, that means that they have to run through and beat the other side, which is likely Florida State at this point.
yeah, and they don't get Florida State in the regular season,
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They got to beat Duke, Miami, Kentucky, then Florida State just to make it. And
Yeah.
that's a tall order for a team that.
Yeah. I was already thinking they lose Kentucky. I think they probably skate past Duke. Miami, the reason Miami was so low on my radar of the three was the week before Miami plays Louisville, they go to Tallahassee to play Florida State. And so that's kind of what I was thinking is the hangover from that game. And that'll be a big test for Miami as well. Of course, they lost to Georgia Tech, so they could have that that sort of, well, the ACC syndrome, right? You're top team in the conference and you drop a game you shouldn't. We've seen Florida State do that
and so
lots of times.
What's crazy about that too, as far as this week, them losing that is twice that Cristobal has made that decision. One was at Oregon, and then one's at Miami. And instead of kneeling the ball, he runs it, fumbles it. The other team ends up scoring and winning.
Yeah,
you can't be that stupid, like, and not twice.
Yeah,
that cost you the game both times.
I mean, it's one thing that we've seen quite a bit out of teams is end of game clock management, right? I mean, when you make wild, dumb decisions in the last couple minutes of the game and it works out, we cheered for Les Miles doing some of the dumbest things imaginable.
It's still dumb though.
It's still dumb, and it goes back to
just because you get lucky doesn't make it smart.
yeah. Just because it works doesn't mean it was the right thing to do. And to your point, I think Miami and Cristobal is highlighting is
well, and to me that's always you can say, oh, well, the offensive coordinator decided this. At that point in the game, that's a head coaching decision.
Mm-hmm.
The head coach has to overrule the offensive coordinator and say, we're kneeling the ball or whatever. Like, if that's what he's trying to do, because you're getting paid the big bucks to make those decisions at that point. And so, I don't know. I mean, with Miami specifically, it's a pattern of, okay, is Miami starting to creep back into things, and then they always somehow they end up blowing it. They end up choking, or they end up, and so
It's the ACC syndrome. Like I said, we've seen Florida State do it, we've seen Clemson do it, we've seen North Carolina do it. It
but
seems to be a
Miami
recurring thing.
teams that do it year after year after year.
Yeah.
When they start off well, they haven't ever since what, early 2000s, when they still had like dominance in their teams.
Yep.
Ever
Larry
since then,
Coker.
it's always been something. Yeah. But
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at the Pac-12 though. I mean, I kind of think that the Pac-12 is going to somewhat cannibalize itself. I'm using that as a those aren't my words. I'm parroting what someone else said, but I listen to podcasts. But no, but I kind of do, because I mean, you look at Oregon, Washington have to play each other this week.
Yep.
And both of them have to play USC, right?
That's a good question.
I know one of them does, or I believe. But
yeah,
I want to see.
The USC plays them back to back. Washington comes to Southern Cal.
And I'll be honest, I think that's 0-2 for USC.
Quite possibly. Boy, that's a gauntlet to finish the year. Because get this, their last 3 games: number 7 Washington, at number 8 Oregon, and then return trip to crosstown rival UCLA, who's no easy out. But at the same time, if they finish that 3-0 and wind up, winning the Pac-12, I don't see how you keep a Pac-12 champ out in that scenario.
Yeah, but I mean, look at it. What if you got? This is the strange year, because what do you do if you have Oklahoma undefeated? You have one of the Pac-12 teams undefeated at this point. You have Georgia winning undefeated. You have Florida State, or I mean, it could be Louisville, but at this point, I'm going to give more credence to Florida State, because at this point, they're ranked higher, so the undefeated is going to look better. So let's just for instance say Florida State runs the table undefeated, and then you have either Ohio State, Michigan, or Penn State running the table and going undefeated. That's 5 undefeated, but you only got 4 spots. What do you do?
I'll be honest with
Never
you.
happened, but
yeah, it's. I think we had 6 or 7 undefeated teams one year back in the BCS. 04 when you had USC.
Yeah, but that's BCS. We didn't have the playoff.
Well, that's true, but
it was a whole different system. So it was yeah.
But I'm just saying, for multiple teams from multiple conferences to be undefeated, it's not unheard of. It's rare for sure.
But it's never happened under the playoffs.
No,
that's what I'm saying. And you've never had, like, this is the most parity amongst the Power 5 conferences. Usually you have a couple that dominate altogether. This year you've got multiple teams in the conferences that are looking really good.
Yeah.
3 in the Big Ten. You got 3 in the Pac-12. You got
3 in the
Oklahoma
ACC.
and Texas right now. I mean,
No, Texas just got thumped in the Red River.
they got beat. I wouldn't say they got thumped.
I
That was
mean,
but yeah. So I don't know. Like I'm just saying though. But Texas is a quality team, so that
true.
Oklahoma win means a lot. So that's what I'm saying is like the competition in each. Um, basically, what I'm saying is, if a team had run the gauntlet and won the Pac-12 undefeated in previous years, it
Mhm.
wouldn't have meant as much as it does right now.
Yeah, and that's why I think even in that scenario, say if you've got um, undefeated SEC champion, undefeated ACC champion, undefeated Big 12, uh, Oklahoma undefeated, Big 10 champion. What was the fifth one you said? I forget which.
So if you had, um,
Basically, all five
right, so if you had
power conference
Oklahoma,
champs.
Georgia, Ohio State, or Michigan, or Penn State, and then you had Florida State, and then you had Oregon,
USC,
Washington,
Oregon, Washington, USC. Right.
or yeah,
I think in that setup, the early success of the Pac-12 is going to work in their favor, and if that happens, they would likely jump the ACC champ.
so
Florida
you're
State.
saying you think the ACC champ would be left out?
I think so right now. It's possible. It would be the Sooners. It would be the Big 12 that gets left out. Uh,
I
to your
think at this
point, it
point it would be because I think that the Big 12 is the weakest top to bottom.
well, it's not just who's the weakest top to bottom, but among the contenders, who's got the better schedule. And conference play does come into play there. But say Texas winds up
Well, what we know, regardless of schedule, SEC champion undefeated is not going to be left out.
correct, especially if you're talking two-time defending champ
Yeah, I mean,
Georgia, but it ain't happening. What I mean, just in that setup, as I look at the schedule, I think you're probably right. It is the Big 12 champ that gets left out, primarily because Florida State, if they finish undefeated, they're going to have that win over LSU to start the season, and it's not a great win, but it's a stronger non-conference win than what Oklahoma is going to wind up with.
right.
And it was a dominant season opening win, and it's going to be tough to keep that out. What I anticipate, because to your point, that many undefeated teams is virtually unheard of. Is suppose, just to be a homer for a second, suppose Bama runs the table and beats Georgia in the national champ or in the SEC championship. Effectively the same thing, right? Right. So you've got one loss conference champ, one loss conference runner up. Then let's say Texas runs the table, beats Oklahoma in the rematch in the Big 12, one loss conference champ, one loss runner up. Similar thing happens. Whoever loses, say USC, Oregon, wins the rematch in the Pac-12. One loss conference champ, one loss runner up. And you just play this out. Louisville, Florida State have the same thing. You've got maybe two between Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. One of them loses and to one of the others, then goes on to win the Big 12, Big 10. So now you've got not 5 undefeateds, but you've got 10 one-loss teams, all either conference champs or conference runner-ups. What do you do there? Besides pray for the committee.
I have no idea. But see, the thing that's funniest, the funniest thing about so say the Pac-12 ends a 3-way tie. You know what happens?
Well, the Pac-12 has a championship game this year, don't they?
I'm saying if it's a 3-way tie.
Oh, Well,
They
if the
have
Pac,
some committee or somebody or some organization just chooses the team and they end up winning or something like that. It's ridiculous. Like they end up being the top. Well, I guess it's two teams to play for it, but like, yeah, the SEC would never stand for that. They always have like 18 different tiebreakers, so that
oh,
you
you're
would
talking
never.
about the division tiebreakers.
I don't know. I was just listening to it the other day, and they were talking about.
Because with a conference championship, whoever wins that game wins the conference. Like
Yeah. I know that, but I'm saying to no, or maybe it was the ACC. Yeah, it was the ACC. Sorry, the AC. I think it was that if they had a three-way tie because they don't have divisions. So see who would play for the title.
Okay.
Yeah.
That okay, that
That's what it
makes more
was.
sense. Yeah,
Um,
and either way, however the conference decides the tiebreaker, you're going to have a championship game, and so you're going to have
right,
one
but
team
it's
win.
because there's no divisions. It's like some. I don't even think it's a committee. It's like a few people just decide, oh, we're gonna pick these two teams based on like no
Yeah.
particular criteria. I'm like, that's just stupid. Like, so basically, it's probably a popularity contest.
Oh, and get this. Now that I look at it, Florida State, Louisville, and North Carolina don't play each other at all. It's possible all three of them finish the season undefeated.
Who?
And from the ACC, Florida State, Louisville, Louisville, however you want to pronounce it, and North Carolina. All three of them don't play the other two. They could all finish 12-0.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
It I just
That
hit
might
me.
have been what they were talking about too.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's pretty far fetched, but I mean, you got what Louisville 6-0, Florida State, North Carolina are 5-0. A lot of football left, but that would that alone would be crazy. So between those three, let's say they all three went out, and if it stays as it is now, you've got Louisville number one, Florida State number two, North Carolina number three. So in that situation, you could have an undefeated team not even play for the conference title, and say
That's
Louisville sneaks one
insane.
out and beats Florida State. So now you've got a one-loss Florida State runner-up, undefeated Louisville conference champ, undefeated North Carolina that didn't even get a chance.
Oh my gosh, that's what's so crazy.
Oh. And then there's the possibility that, say, Florida State wins out, but plays like Georgia did the first few games. So they just start kind of dropping in the rankings as their wins look less and less impressive. And then suppose you've got undefeated Louisville and North Carolina, bump them up top. And then maybe Florida State doesn't even play in the conference championship game after spending the first half of the season in the top four or top five.
That's crazy. Oh man, yeah, it's great. There's too many
Wow.
scenarios, but
It's
what
October,
about?
man. Anything can happen.
Hey, it's Brocktober.
No, I will never call it Brocktober. It is
That's what
pumpkin spice season. Yeah.
Georgia fans have been saying that since October started. Like we've been calling it Brocktober.
Hey, I get it. And quite
It's
honestly,
working.
we haven't talked about the Heisman that much. And as much as Caleb Williams is doing to put the entire USC football team on his back because the defense isn't holding up their end of the bargain for sure. And I think Brock Bowers probably top two Heisman candidate realistically. As long as Georgia keeps winning and he keeps balling out, I mean, he's getting 7-8 catches. I mean, he's team leader in receptions as a tight end, team leader in touchdowns and yards. I mean,
Yeah.
you keep this type of production up. We've seen a non-quarterback or non-quarterback and non-running back get the Heisman within the last few years. Devontae Smith got it. We've never seen a tight end get it.
That's not true.
Oh,
It's been one time, but it's been a long time.
Okay. We've never seen it.
Yeah.
All right,
I don't remember what it was, but I don't remember who it was, but I remember it was mentioned. I heard it that it was done once.
Okay. So back before they started doing the forward pass and the tight end was more of an H-back.
I don't know. I don't remember how long ago it was, but yeah, the thing about Caleb Williams is I don't think he's got a shot to win it because they have a thing about back-to-back winners. They don't like to give it to him. I'm not saying it's not possible, but he would have to be so overwhelmingly ahead of everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I think Michael Penix is too close to him. So I think if they're going to give it to anyone right now, it would be him and then maybe Brock Bowers. But we'll see. Are you ready to jump into picks?
Yeah. Let's do it. I want to find out what tight end won the Heisman.
I knew that you were. Is your Hatter? Wait, yours is not SEC.
You know what my Hatter is.
JB's is what is his not SEC? I think it is.
It is not. His is Big Ten.
Okay, so all of ours are outside the SEC. All right, so you want to tell everybody what yours is?
Oh, it should be no surprise when UAB is a 10-point underdog to who is it? I lost it. UTSA, Texas San Antonio, the Road Runners. Give me the Blazers to pull the upset on the road, going out to San Antonio and the Alamo Dome. This has been a fairly good back and forth rivalry since UTSA came up into the Division I ranks or the FBS ranks. And I like what UAB is doing. Zeno is slinging it from under center, and I like what we're doing. Coming off a big win against South Florida, bigger win against South Florida than Alabama had. Just saying. Go Blazers and then Roll Tide.
Well, JB has Iowa beating Wisconsin.
Yep.
Well, here we go. This Hatter would break up some of this problems we've been having with the whole ties and the undefeated teams.
Okay.
Give me Schrader and the Syracuse Orangemen over Florida State.
Love it. That's what I was looking at. I was thinking that's where you were going to go.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that pick a lot. That's a big dog too. That's 17.5 points.
It's a big dog, but Florida State is beatable and Syracuse is underrated.
Yep.
I still think that. And that quarterback is good. So if they hit it just right, they can win this game.
Yeah, you're just saying that because you got Schrader on your fantasy team.
No, I don't.
We don't have ACC players. That's right.
Well, in my other league, I think I tried to find him, but he was already picked up or something, or maybe I don't remember. But because I think I tried to acquire him, but that's all right. I got Liberty's quarterback in my other one, so he's just been killing it. He had a down week and still had 20-something points. So it normally averages like close to 40. And I just picked up Boston Colleges, who's been getting like 38. So the rest of their team sucks, but
well, when your team sucks, you're throwing the ball a lot, so the quarterback's going to get a lot of points.
Oh man,
the right people.
All right.
Syracuse coming off back-to-back losses. That'd be a nice little way to bounce back.
Bounce back to back against tough opponents.
Yeah.
All right, let's do what do we want to hit next? We were doing that. Was it Oregon State UCLA?
Yep.
Who you got, Wes?
Give me the Beavers. And I like Oregon State. I know we picked the UCLA game last week, and I picked against UCLA. I thought Washington State was going to sneak in and take it from them. But Oregon State is the home team. It's a night game, 7:00 kickoff. Pac-12 after dark. It's going to be a wild stadium. Corvallis. Just give me the Beavers. Oh, and the points. They're 3.5 point favorites. So give me the points.
Yeah, we're all three the same on this one. I mean, give me DJ Uyunglele or however, nobody knows how to say his name.
His mom and dad do, and that's about it.
Yeah. I've heard the media say it about 10 different ways.
Yep.
But yeah, we all got Oregon State and covering in this one. All right, on to the next game. We got North Carolina and who was it? I'm losing it now. Miami, thank you. Who you got in this one?
Miami's coming to Chapel Hill, and the home team is a 3.5 point favorite. Same as the first one. Give me the home favorite to win this one. I think North Carolina's doing solid. They're not great, but they're good enough, and they're good enough to get by Miami.
Yeah, I agree. I was tempted to go the other way, but I got North Carolina in this. Give me Drake May with the points. And I think JV he has UNC to win and cover. All right, and then our one other non-SEC pick is Oregon and Washington. JB has Oregon outright. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, I got Oregon outright as well. I know this is a road game for Oregon, but Bo Pix has apparently figured out how to throw it to his own guys, and Oregon's just playing lights out football. And I know Washington's doing the same as well. I expect it to be a good game, close game. I just think the ball's going to bounce the Ducks' way. Maybe they get a turnover differential that steals some points, maybe a quick possession before the half or something like that. But they're going to squeak it out.
Yeah, I'm going to quote a hockey movie here.
Oh boy!
And be like, and say, quack, 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 quack. We might even see the football version of the Flying V. Give me Dan Lang and the Ducks.
How great of a kick return would that be?
Oh man, if he did a Flying V, oh man. I gotta call Lanning up and be like, hey man, you gotta figure out this formation.
You still got his number even though he left Georgia?
I wish I had his number. Nah, I really like how Lanning's been running this team.
Mm-hmm.
He's done well in his short time there. Michael Penix is an unbelievable player, but I think overall Oregon is the better team.
Mm-hmm.
From top to bottom. So give me the Ducks, and give me the Ducks outright. All right. Well, so far we've all been. The graphic has been steady across the board.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In the SEC, we'll start with Georgia in Nashville. Georgia's favored by 31.5. Do they cover the spread?
I think they do. I after the big win, it's easy to think Georgia's going to say, all right, it's Vanderbilt. Let's take our foot off the gas a little bit. Maybe they sub in second stringers and work on depth play a little bit earlier. But I think Smart's going to want to build some momentum. He's going to want to start fast again, and if and when they do, the second half they're going to blow past that 31.5-point figure.
Yeah. Well, JB has no faith in it, but I do. I think Georgia they came out to play this past week, and I think they're out to prove some stuff now. In the beginning, they were coasting. I think now they're ready to play. So I'll take the points on this one. All right, next, let's see. Arkansas at Bama. Bama's favored by 19. I know you're picking Alabama, but do they cover the spread?
I think so. As much as as high as I was on Arkansas earlier in the season, they just have not lived up to that expectation, and for a handful of reasons, throughout, they just, I don't know, they haven't shown it. Now this could be the day. Rocket Sanders could break out for 150 and a few touchdowns, but based on what we've seen, based on how the teams have progressed, I think Arkansas has taken a bit of a step back. Bama took a big step back earlier in the season, but has taken a pretty big leap forward. I think where these teams are right now, 19 is a big spread, but I think with the big playability from Milroe, I think finding the running game again with a team that's not as good against the run as Texas A&M, I think Bama's going to win pretty comfortably.
Yeah, so JB has Arkansas winning outright.
Of course he does.
Yeah, no. Give me Alabama by. It'll be a 4-possession game. I don't know if it'll be 24 or 28, but they
By
more
12.
than cover the spread. Yeah.
4 field goals.
Not what I meant, but yeah. No, 4 either 24 or 28.
Yeah.
They'll win by more than the spread. Let's put it that way. They will easily cover the spread. I don't see this being close. It is in Tuscaloosa. Arkansas is not doing well. They're 2-4 this year.
Yeah.
Bama is playing well. I see them winning by at least 21, but I think it'll be more than that. All right, moving on. Let's go to Florida. Goes on the road to Columbia, South Carolina. SC is favored by 2 points. What you got, Wes?
Beamer ball, baby. This is a great weekend for South Carolina to come roaring back to get another statement win. Granted, Florida isn't the Florida of old, but after losing 2 of the last 3 to Georgia and Tennessee, bouncing back with a big win against an SEC opponent, big win in the East. I think it's going to be huge for South Carolina and the Gamecocks. Go Cox.
Yeah, we all agree on that one. We're all going with Beamer ball. All right, next, let's go Auburn LSU. The game is in Death Valley at night. LSU is favored by 11.
Yeah, I think the Tigers are going to win it, right? I mean, given the yeah, no, we talked about this. We talked about this a little bit before we started recording, because an 11-point spread, you really want to pick Auburn. They can get the running game going, but against LSU again is another one of those teams that they've taken a step back from last year, but I think they're still a step or two ahead of Auburn, and this being in Death Valley at night is going to play in LSU's favor, and I just don't think Auburn's going to be able to hold on to it. So give me LSU and the points, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's in Death Valley at night, and LSU's weak area is their secondary. Auburn can't pass the ball.
Correct.
So give me LSU and the points.
Yep.
JB says the same thing. So far, we're all in agreement except for Georgia covering. All right. Next, Missouri goes to Kroger Field in Kentucky. Kentucky's favored by 2.5 points. Who you got, Wes?
This is tough.
This is tough.
Because I mean, both teams had big losses this past week, and I can't figure out which one is more demoralizing. I can't think of which team is going to be able to recover faster, but I will default with the team that's got the best running back. So give me Kentucky, the home team, to put it away at home. 2.5 point favorite. I'll go so far as to say they don't cover, but Kentucky wins.
Okay. JB's got them winning and covering.
Yeah.
I will too. Say they win and cover because it mainly because it's at Kroger Field. If it was in Como, I'd pick Missouri. This game is a toss up to me, but merely for the fact that it's in Kentucky, I'm taking Kentucky.
Yeah.
That's really all there is to that because I can see this game going either way. But so I'm going with a coin top flip going to the home team. And then finally we have A&M traveling to Knoxville to that garbage truck worker convention of a stadium. Neyland Stadium. I hate it. It's awful. It is the worst stadium to sit in. It's just awful. I can't stress that enough.
Let me guess, you hate Tennessee.
Yep, they low down. But really, even if I didn't hate the team, their stadium is just terrible. It's awful. Anyway, Tennessee is favored by 3.5 at home. Who you got?
There's no way I'm picking Tennessee, but this isn't just an anti-Tennessee pick. Aside from the fact that we just saw Texas A&M and how good they can be, this game pits the number one rushing offense in Tennessee against the number one rushing defense in Texas A&M. And looking at who Tennessee has gotten their number one rushing offense in the SEC against Virginia, Austin Peay, Florida, Texas San Antonio, and South Carolina. The best team out of those I think they played besides South Carolina was good, but at Florida, the toughest game, the one that's away from home, they only got 100 yards on the ground. If Florida can hold them to 100 yards, Texas A&M has held every team they've played to a season low on the ground. Tennessee will not be able to move the ball well on the ground. They want to be able to establish a pass, which is going to make them vulnerable to turnovers in the air, which Texas A&M can certainly capitalize on. And I don't have the confidence in Tennessee's defense to stop A&M for 60 minutes. So give me A&M to win it outright.
Yeah, we're all in agreement here. I mean, everything what you just said, I agree with, but I think it's going to be a relatively low scoring game, which I think favors A&M.
Yep.
I think Tennessee's going to try to run it, but they're not going to have much success. And I think A&M's going to do just enough. Max Johnson's going to get enough in the air, and yeah, I mean, I can see it being a 17-7 game or something like that. I don't know. It may be more than that, but I don't think it'll be all that high scoring. But I definitely will take A&M outright, and JB says the same. So
not a single not so fast.
I know, it's crazy.
That tells me our picks are way off. We cannot all be in agreement and right.
Yeah, I don't know. Crazy.
We'll find out though. That's why
There
I'm gonna
will.
play it.
Well, that's all she wrote, man.
That's it. It's a good show, brother.
Yes, it was. Anything else? Any final words?
Mm-mm.
All righty. Well then, till next time, just remember, brothers, to let your light shine before men, so that they may see your good works and give Father glory to your Father in heaven.
Easy for you to say.
And we'll see you in the tavern.
All right, so I'm gonna let it play a little bit longer because last time when I cut it off, it actually cut off the end of that verse.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I get that captured because I wound up having to go in and splice from a previous episode. If you listen, it's slightly more than slight, but
Was
it's
it
a
one
different
where
audio.
JB did it?
No. It was you. It was from earlier this season.
That'd be funny if you spliced JB in there.
That would be funny. I may do that just for fun now. Is just go get him doing the closing and plop that in there, see if anybody notices.
Right after me talking,